Good morning, everybody. Bob Kiser here. Welcome to Perfect Detours. It's a beautiful Saturday here in Chicago, and I'm so grateful to be here today. If you're tuning in for the second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth, or 100th time, welcome back. So glad you're here. If you're here for the first time, wow, well, welcome, and we're so glad that you are here. So I'm assuming that you're watching on one of the platforms, which is either Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. And we have the comments activated, so feel free to leave me a comment. You can join the conversation. But what is this show? It's called Perfect Detours. So each week we look at those imperfect moments in our lives, those moments that are unexpected, where we either thought that we took a wrong turn or we made a bad choice or quote unquote something bad happened to us. And upon further investigation, exploration, we figure out that actually maybe those were the perfect moments to have our lives turn into to the lives beyond our wildest dreams. So each week we talk to guests and we explore how do we kind of re-examine our lives? How do we put a twist so that maybe we can see the good in our lives and other people's? The show has gone through a lot of transformations. It originally was on Chicago's WJHC 98.3 FM Chicago as a radio show, and the station is on hiatus. So myself and some of my prior guests were like, "How do we keep the show going?" And we thought, this is it. This is how we do this. So we are broadcasting on Saturdays at noon, and because we want to get the conversation going. I think that the way for us to get through this thing called life is to help each other. For the next 4 or 5 weeks, since it's my show, I'll get to decide. We're going to be talking about authenticity and what that means. Because I keep hearing people, talk about we should be authentic, we should live our authentic lives, and if everybody should be doing it, well, why aren't we doing it? And what is the obstacles to doing that? So I have my own questions, I have my own theories, but I'm going to be talking to my guest. I have a really cool guest on today, author Keith Butler. And if anybody I think has some thoughts about being authentic, it's Keith. So I can't wait for us to chat with him. So let's get down to business. So anybody who's watched the show before knows that I'm really into definitions. I want to make sure we're on the same page. So I did some research and was looking at what does authentic mean. So an authentic being, part of authenticity. So I'm looking at my notes right now. So authentic. So this is on Webster's dictionary. So the first one is not false or imitation. Real, actual, is the first definition. The second one is true to one's own personality, spirit, or character, which I thought was interesting because my background is in acting, and I was thinking about how can we be authentic in acting or authentic in lives when we play so many roles. So I thought that was interesting when I looked at that. So true to one's own personality, spirit, or character, and true. What is truth? I can't wait. I can't wait to explore all of this. Again, if you're just tuning in, hi, we're talking about authenticity. Leave us some notes in the comments section. We want you to join the conversation and to challenge us, and also to maybe provide some answers that maybe we don't have. The other thing is, so this is, I'm just going to read this definition and I'll just put it out there because I was surprised by it because this is not what I thought authenticity was. So worthy of acceptance or belief as conforming to or based on fact paints an authentic picture of our society, or conforming to an original so as to reproduce essential features, such as an authentic reproduction of a colonial farmhouse. So I didn't really think about authenticity or authentic as in reproduction. So I'm not sure if that fits into our conversation, but I like to get it all out there. And who knows, maybe someone will have a really cool idea about it. So as most of you know, if you watched the show before, my chosen occupation is that of author, speaker, and a life coach. And I love examining what makes us tick and those things that get in our way, those things that kind of slow us down, cause a drag in our life. and those things that help us accelerate towards living the life beyond our wildest dreams. And this thing of authenticity, it fascinates me because I think that the times that I have experienced what I'll call a drag, a kind of a slowdown in my life, is when I've not been authentic. And I've tried to conform to other people's expectations of me, society's expectations of me. And that's when I've had the most, I think, unsettling feelings, and feelings of not belonging or not being good enough, etc. So I think that leads me into, why is it so hard to be authentic? Um, for me, as I said, it's scary, and the feeling of not belonging. I think it's also scary about owning who I am. For so many years as a gay male, um, as someone who's adopted, I have watched my environment to try to adapt to be what people wanted me to be so I could feel safe. So, in not being authentic, I've actually had a feeling of danger, of not feeling safe. What's ironic is, I think as I go more towards being authentic, which I hope I am doing, I do feel more secure and more safe, which is so against my intuition about this whole thing. Which leads me into, like, when I have been authentic, there's a certain peace in not trying to be something that I'm not. And I think in that, it's letting go of others' expectations of me, and there's just a freedom of that. And and with all of that, I've said before that I feel like one of my goals in this life is to be of service to others. That when I am focused only on me, my feelings of fear, my feelings of insecurity increase. But when I get outside myself and I can think of others and be of service to others, my feelings of peace, of serenity increase. And I found that when I can be authentic with myself, that then I can stop worrying so much about me. It's a lot of energy trying to focus on other people, trying to figure out what they want. So, in letting go of that, I have more energy to be of service to others, etc. So, that's just to kind of get us going and my thoughts. What I love about this show, I have to say it's kind of selfish, is because I get to think about all this stuff. On Saturday mornings, I go to the gym. I'm sitting there. I'm like, what does it mean to be authentic? What are the challenges for me? And then I get to come on here and talk about it. And I have amazing guests like Keith Butler come on and then inspire us and to tell us their views, his views on this. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Keith Butler, who is just, I adore Keith. I've known Keith for so many years. We've gone through so many journeys together. So Keith is a Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame 2017 inductee. I'm reading my little notes here because I don't want to get anything wrong. Side note, I think my introductions are the scariest part for me, being authentic. My introductions, because the people I have on the show, I so respect, and so I don't want to mess this part up. So I'm trying to be a little bit more authentic and tell you where I'm at. So anyway, Keith is a Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame 2017 inductee. He is a Gay Games bronze medalist, which I did not know, so I have some questions about that. He's also a performer and author of the new book, Little Black Gay Boy, an unapologetic memoir of surviving, coming out, and recovering, which we are going to get to. We're going to talk about that. So without further ado, let me get Keith on here. So I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to get Keith. Hi, Keith.
Hello there. How are you?
I am so good, Keith. It's so good to see you.
Oh, so good to see you. I enjoyed listening to you already. That was amazing.
Well,
I loved that. I loved it.
thank you. Thank you. So, Keith, first of all, it's an honor to have you on the show. And as I said, um, as I've watched you grow, and we've definitely watched each other grow a lot in different places, and just we have a lot of history. I feel like you have taken a journey on. I feel like you've always kind of known your voice, but allowing your voice to come out and to connect with others and making sure that they can have their voice. Is that fair to say? Is that a right assumption?
Well, you know what? I'm going to be honest and say that I don't think that I've always known my voice. I
Okay.
think I have always wanted to tap into and find out exactly what is my voice and how I can use it.
Okay.
Um, and that's because even though I may be a strong extrovert, as most people know me, I'm a very strong extrovert.
Really?
I know, right? I'm so shy, I'm just so within myself. Um, but there were parts of me that still struggled with my self-worth.
Mm.
And I had an adopted big brother. His name was Byron. He's passed away. He's been gone now for about 6 years. And he used to always say to me, "You don't know your worth." And
Mm.
and so to me, to think of worth, it made me think of how much money I have, what kind of car I drive,
Right.
what kind of house I live in. That's what I thought about when I thought about worth. But he said to me, and I'll never forget it because we went on a gay cruise and talk about being a black gay man on a 3,000 passenger gay cruise, where everybody goes to the gym for 8 hours a day and they all look like they stepped out of a GQ magazine or something. And me just not looking like any of that. But there were people who gravitated to me and wanted to chat with me and invited me to go out on the excursions with them. And I remember saying to Byron, "Why do they want to talk to me? Like,
Mm.
why would they include me?" And he would say, "You don't know your worth." And I said, "Yeah, but they have this wonderful relationship, and one's a doctor, and one's a lawyer, and one's a teacher, and they have all this, and they travel the world, they've been everywhere." He says, "It's not about what you have that attracts people." He
Right.
says, "It's authentically about who you are." He
Mm.
says it's truly about how you carry yourself in a way that you are comfortable in your own skin. And those sometimes are people who are not, and they're attracted to that.
I love that. So help me understand then first of all, how do you feel about your worth today?
You know what? I'm learning more and more. I mean, I now have a book out there. So, but I'm learning more and more about the fact that Marianne Williamson quote, "Me playing small doesn't serve the world."
Right?
And
Right?
so I am truly understanding that I do bring something to the table. And because I bring something to the table, it makes it really comfortable for me to be me. Because when I do that, I'm telling other people it's okay for you to be you. So today, my level of worth is very much higher than it's ever been.
I love that. So help me understand then how did you take that journey from not feeling like you're worthy or why would people want to be around you to having more? And I think we always can grow and our feelings of worth. But
Yeah.
what ideas or suggestions do you have for people that might be
Well,
struggling with this?
well, I really have to say that when you take the time to learn about who you are. And I'm grateful that, I love that your program is called Perfect Detours.
Hmm.
And the fact that I've had some perfect detours in my life that landed me in a recovery life,
Hmm.
you know. And by being in recovery, I have had to do a lot of writing about who am I? Who do I think I am? Who do I want to be? Um, who am I showing people that I am? Because there's always sometimes the dynamic of a person going, "This is who I am," but that's not who I show people I am. And sometimes those don't match.
Right.
And so the writing that I've had to do on step work, has really opened the door for me to know more and more about who Keith really is, you
Mm.
know, and it has allowed me to be able to know who I am and use that voice to be able to speak that into words and into scenarios of my life.
That's great. So we both, have backgrounds in performing and theater and stuff like that. And I was thinking about this. I mentioned at the beginning. So being authentic and living life, and even in acting school, they used to say, "Do you need to be authentic?" But we're playing characters, we're playing roles. So, what are your thoughts about what does it mean to be authentic in playing a role? Because I think of authentic as in, who is Bob Kiser? And even Bob Kiser, is Bob Kiser authentic? compared to who we really are. And this relationship to, like you said, showing people parts of you or what you want them to see versus being authentic. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's what's so important is when we as actors take on a character or a role, our job is to step into who that person is and to truly be authentically that individual. So, what that means is we have to put aside who we are and what we may think, because that character may be somebody who's the opposite of who we are.
Mhm.
You know, and I'll give you a prime example. I have a wonderful friend who is in Sons of Hollywood right now, and it's a great play, and he's a straight man who's playing William Hayes, who was a gay man in the 20s and 30s in Hollywood. So but he has to play this character who was a real person authentically as possible, because there are books and stories about who this man was. So as an actor, we really truly have to embody, who is it that I'm playing? What is it that their life was about that I need to be true to? Because I
Mhm.
have to be true to that character. You know, when I was in college, I was in a play called Statements After an Arrest Under the Immorality Act, and it was by Adolf Fugard, who wrote Master Harold and the Boys, and this particular play was a one act, and it was about a African black man and a British white woman in South Africa who got involved in a relationship. And when I started doing this show, it was so hard for me to connect to this straight man in this interracial relationship in
Mm.
South Africa, because I was a gay man, really learning who I was and what that meant for me. And it wasn't until the director said to me, he says, "This character is no different sometimes than what you go through in your personal life."
Mhm.
He says they're looking for acceptance of their relationship as an interracial couple in South Africa, and you're looking for acceptance as a gay man in America. And
Mm.
I went, oh, that makes sense. So I have to embody this man and take a piece of me. I can't take all of me because he's not a gay man, he's a straight man. But I have to take a piece of my struggle and implement that into who this character is so that I can play him authentically.
I love it.
I
So
can be true. Yeah.
yeah, so taking the authentic parts of you, and I think that I think my journey as an actor was, I wanted to be on stage so I could be anybody but me. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then twist of fate, you have to be yourself, which is wait a minute, I didn't say I wanted to do that, but that's really cool, Keith. So let's talk a little bit then. I think this is a perfect segue into your book. Hello, congratulations on the
Thank
book.
you.
And this
Thank you.
idea of, I think you have many roles you've played, and many times that I think that perhaps a persona has popped in to cover up stuff. And so, first of all, tell us a little bit about your book. Let's go ahead and let everybody know how awesome it is, and then talk to me about that, how that relates to this idea of authenticity.
Well, I wanted to, the book is called Little Black Gay Boy, and I have wanted to write this book for a very long time. It has been inside of me for a long, and I want to say it probably started about when I was about 18 years old. And I literally started journaling at 18 because
Hmm.
I said, one day I want to write a book. You know,
Wow.
I had already felt at that time in my life that I had been through some stuff that would be worthy of a book. But then as I started to get older, and I've had scenarios, and I talk about it in the book where people read my journals.
Hmm.
So my journal no longer became my own personal thoughts, my own personal fantasies, my own personal emotions. That other people read them and violated that. So I basically at one point took all my journals and ripped them up page by page,
Mm.
and no longer felt that I had a story to tell. And because I no longer felt I had a story to tell, I started to go through life wondering, well, who are you? What do you have to say that anybody would really want to listen to? And it
Wow.
wasn't until 5 years ago that when I restarted my journey in recovery, that that writing helped me to understand that I had been through some stuff that could really help somebody. And if I told the honest truth about my childhood, about what I've been through, and understanding who I was as a gay man, and what I had been through in my drug addiction and how I came out of that in my recovery. If I really was honest about that, it could really truly help somebody. And so I made the decision that it was time to write the book. And so I said yes. I felt the calling. And then when I felt the calling, I was actually at another friend's book signing in 2018. And the whole time I was at his book signing, I kept feeling this tap on my shoulder. And I know that was my higher power that I choose to call God. And that tap kept saying, look at him. He did it. You can do it.
Yeah.
He did it, and I walked out of that room that day and I said, I'm going to write my book.
I
And
love it.
so I dedicated myself for 2 years, and I'm so grateful for what it has turned out to be, and how it's continuing to blossom. And that is one of the things that has truly helped me to continue to be authentic, because the story is out there. Everything is out there, and the truth is out there. And I said that if I was going to write it, that I was going to have to tell the whole truth. I couldn't sugarcoat anything, and I couldn't talk about this but not talk about that. And I had to tell the whole story.
Mhm. I love that. So many questions, but it's interesting that I think many people feel like their story is not worthy of being told.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And at every book signing I've done so far, I've said the same thing in the room. I said, everybody's sitting in this room. You have a story to tell. And Maya Angelou used to always say that all of us have a story. We all have a story.
Right.
And it's whether or not we have that desire or that calling to want to share it. Now,
Mm.
some people share it in a book.
Mhm.
Some people share it, when they travel and they do live, speaking engagements. Some people share it, just by the students that they teach at a school,
Right.
or a preacher that they preach in a church. That's how they share their story, or there are some people who sit down on a one-on-one with another person and share their story in a time when that person needs to hear it.
Right.
So we all have a story to tell. It's just, do we have the courage to tell it?
I love that. I love that, Keith. So if you're just tuning in, I'm talking to author Keith Butler about authenticity. And Keith, I have a question for you. What does the C stand for? I've known you all these years. I don't know what it,
Cornelius.
Cornelius. I love it. Keith
Yeah.
Cornelius Butler. I love it. My Robert James Wintz is my full name. So
Oh, I did not know that.
no, Wintz is my adopted name. So anyway, so good morning,
Okay.
everybody, and also Bonnie. Good morning, Bonnie. Bonnie's watching. If anybody else wants to comment on, we have some time. We have a master in the house. Keith is a master in authenticity. So let's get him. Let's pick his brain and figure out how to do this thing. So leave some comments for us, and we will we'll get those on here and get him talking. Um, so Keith, I love what you said about the stories, and I agree. The stories is a way that for history. I mean, since man started, that is how we have helped each other. Obviously, passed down history, but also just with helping each other just be better people. Some has helped people be worse people too, but I think stories have power. I love that.
Right. Right.
So here's my question then. So let's take each section. So as a gay black man, okay.
Mhm.
So that's always been easy to be. So I don't think we don't need to talk about that, right?
Well, uh, no, it has not always been easy.
What? What? But
I mean, it has not always been easy to be a gay black man. For me, I'm speaking of myself here,
sure.
because I was always looking for. I love when you talked in the beginning of the show when you were doing your introduction about we're always looking to be a part of, looking to be
Mm,
included. And for me, as a black gay man, I was always looking to be included.
Oh,
I was always in circles. Like, I talked earlier about the Atlantis cruise thing. Like, I looked at a cruise as that's something that I would never be a part of. Like, I could never do that. I could never be on a ship with 3,000 gay men, predominantly white gay men, and enjoy myself, you know. And it wasn't until my adopted big brother Byron was like, "This is your Christmas present, and we're going on a cruise." And I was like, "Okay," you know. And
sure.
even then, getting on that ship, it was like, "Where do I fit in?"
All right.
Because I don't really see anybody else who looks like me.
Yeah.
So because I don't see that, it's a little scary. It's a little scary because as a black gay man, when you are, especially in like the dating world, and we're in the times of apps, hookup apps, when you're constantly going through um, people's profiles and they say no blacks, no femmes, no Asians, you know, it kind of makes you go, I'm nothing. I'm not even considered,
Mm,
you know, even if it's just a one night stand, I'm not even considered,
mm,
like you are upfront saying no blacks, no femmes, no Asians. You've already said to me. And there's a part of me that goes, okay, good, I know what I'm up against. But there's a part of me that was really hurt, was like,
of course.
I don't have a chance. I don't have a chance, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes you think, then what am I?
Mm,
What am I? What is it that they have that I don't have? Except the only difference, very upfront, is the color of my skin. That's really the only difference. Um, and so, even as a black gay man, the first thing that I have to acknowledge is first that I'm black. I have to acknowledge that, because it took me a long time, because I grew up in a predominantly white high school. I grew up in a predominantly white town. All of my friends predominantly growing up in high school were white. So when I got to college, I had no sense of who I was as a black
mm,
man. I truly didn't. And thank God that I began to understand that I could minor in African American studies, because by doing so, it opened the doors for me to learn about who my people were, what do I come from, who are the shoulders of those that I stand on today. And by learning that, it gave me such a strong sense of who I am,
mm.
and gave me the sense of being able to say, this is who I am, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. So understanding that, even during the times of, when every time you turn to the news and black men were being killed, it's like every time you turn to the news, another black man's been shot, another black man's been shot. And so I would have these emotions, and being a black gay man, I would go into circles where I was the only one. And it was hard for me to sit in that room sometimes and process, you know, these are the emotions that I'm dealing with today. You know, this is what I'm going through, and having to figure out, how do I walk through this?
Yeah.
So that's why I say, it's not always easy.
Well,
And I know that you meant that as a joke. Totally, I
oh,
totally.
totally. It was
That was,
so joke. Yeah.
right, and for me to open up and spill all of that out.
No, no, no. That's what I wanted. So, and you know what just
Yeah.
popped in my head too, Keith, is that this idea of people like to be comfortable. And so sometimes we make the choice of, do we want to be authentic, which might make people uncomfortable, or do we want to bend and be uncomfortable and let them, and let them be comfortable? So,
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you for sharing your journey. Love that.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, it's such interesting. No, it's
I
not.
stopped.
It's horrific times. I'm sorry. What were we gonna say?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, I think maybe it's my age, because believe it or not, I'm about to
24.
turn 50.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
about to turn 50, you know.
Welcome to the club. Welcome
I
to the
know.
club.
You're not,
AARP.
you're not even 50 yet. Oh my God. I get so many AARP emails out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, every Monday or Tuesday, I'm like, you know nothing about me. You're already emailing me.
Right. Oh yeah. So here I am, Keith, saying, let's be authentic. I'm like, AARP, stay away.
But what I was gonna say was, as I'm getting older, I am at that place where I no longer am going to bend to make you comfortable. Because by doing that, I'm truly not being my authentic self.
Right.
I can't do that. Like for instance, African garb is something that I love wearing African garb. I wear it to work, I wear it to gatherings, hanging out with friends. And it's not something I wear every day, but it's a part of my life. And normally when I go to a formal event like a wedding or a black tie event, I wear African garb. I wear formal style or formal version of African garb, but I wear African garb. And I've had people who have said to me, "Oh, I'm not going to go with you if that's what you're going to wear." And I used to go, "Okay, I'll wear something different."
Make you comfortable.
No, not today.
So
If you're uncomfortable about me being me, then you're not supposed to be with me to begin with.
amen. Yeah. Amen. Um, so Bonnie had a question about your book,
Okay.
and I thought it was interesting. So I was kind of waiting to pop it in here, and this is a really good question. So, what surprised you when writing? Did you learn something new about yourself, and if so, what?
What surprised me, I think, the most about my writing the book was the chapter called Fatherless Boy. And it's about me almost meeting my father, my real dad.
Mm,
And I tell the story about how, we had to go get blood tests done and getting those blood tests done, our appointment was 9 o'clock. And I was excited because, everybody has said my whole life, I look like this man, I look like this man, I look like this man. And we got there at 8:55. And as we signed in, we saw that he had already been there, and the doors of the clinic opened at 8:30. So he came in, got his blood drawn, and he was out of there before we got there. And as I wrote that chapter, I tell people when I hit the period of the last thing of that chapter, it probably was about like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I broke down crying. I had the most emotional release. And it was weird because like I hit period and I took my finger off and I broke down crying. And I realized in that moment that I had been carrying so much
mm,
around my father. I had been carrying so much about still having that desire to see him. And when I had that release, I let it go. From that moment on, I really feel like I let go of any desire to ever see him or talk to him, even if he's still alive. I have no idea, you know. But it was that moment that I learned that I was still carrying a lot around that. And that moment gave me the opportunity to let it go. So that's the reason why I tell people when they're saying to me, I've been wanting to write this my story for such a long time. I say, do it, because it could very well be that one gift that you could give to yourself to help you move to the next level of your life.
right. Uh, Julian Cameron has, the Artist Way, which was an
Hmm.
amazing book, but also Vein of Gold. And the first exercise is to write your story out. Um, Being authentic and honest, I didn't do that part. I just stopped. But I agree, Keith. What a great thing. And Bonnie, what a great question. I need to go back
Yeah.
because I'm assuming,
Thanks, Bonnie.
uh, yes. And just a comment from Mel. Thank you so much. I agree.
Yes.
Yep. So thank you for all the comments.
Yes.
So Keith, as we're kind of wrapping this up, what is one thing you want people to take away uh, with in regards to their own journey and being authentic?
Here's what I heard and I learned, and I carry with me to this day. Nobody can be you better than you.
Hmm.
Nobody can be you better than you. There may be representations or imitations, but when it comes down to the nitty gritty of it all, nobody can be you better than you. And what better gift that you give to the world by stepping into the world as your authentic self? Because just like the quote again says, your playing small does not serve anyone. Because when you let your light shine, you give other people permission to do the same.
Amen. Amen. So everybody, go out, buy the book. It is Amazing Little Black Gay Boy. Keith, where can people find it?
They can find it on Amazon, or they can go to Acta Publications. That's ACTA Publications.com. Again, that's ACTA Publications.com.
Great. And if people want more of you, which I'm sure they will, where can people find you?
They can reach me on Facebook. Look up Keith Butler Chicago. You'll find me right there. I'm probably with that handsome man I call my partner, Ron. So you'll be able to find me very easily. And I would love to talk with anybody if you have any questions or want to know more.
Great. Keith, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
And
Thank you.
yes, and one last comment, which I agree, beautiful. Great way to end this. So thank you, Keith, and I'm sure we'll have you on the show again. So thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Love you.
Love you. Bye. So, wow, I am kind of blown away and just kind of still processing. And yeah, so I have so many cool friends. So many cool friends. I'm so grateful that they agree to be on this show and we get to chat. And yeah, so it's a good tribe I have. So we're going to be over the next couple of weeks, looking at what this means to be authentic. And I think Keith was such a great way to jumpstart us into looking at this. Things for this week to think about. I think when looking at being authentic, the first thing I would say is be gentle with yourself. As we were talking, it can make people uncomfortable when we start stepping into who we are. That's not necessarily a reflection on your worth or, period, your worth, period. It's uncomfortable to people when you are not what they expect or something that, again, makes them uncomfortable. And in the journey, embrace not being perfect. So I have found out I tried most of my life to be perfect, Bobby. I thought that would get me further in life. Very stressful for me, very stressful, caused me anxiety, depression, etc. But I thought that was the way to get through life. I was never perfect, but I tried to be. I think when I made a commitment to start being or walking towards authenticity, and like Keith said, mine was in recovery too. I found out that not being perfect is authentically me. I'm so not perfect. I'm so not perfect. And the minute I stopped trying to be perfect, this certain peace came over me. It just a lot of the mental gymnastics I had to do, I got to let go of. So you're not going to be perfect. And in doing that, embracing the vulnerability of not being perfect. And in these moments, like there are moments on the show and when I'm discussing things or being authentic, having honesty on the show or with my, my tribe, that I experience a vulnerability hangover, which literally feels like, what have I done? I can't believe I just said that. I am the worst person in the world. I want to crawl up into a ball. I can start getting hot. I can have like literally physical reactions when I let go of things that are authentically me, the stories I have, whatever makes me me, because I have a lot of internal guards that are there to protect me. They're like, whoa, whoa, don't let that information out, because if you do, there is danger. So I think in walking towards this authentic you, that be prepared for the vulnerability hangover. And Brene Brown, if you want more information, discusses it beautifully. But I definitely experienced that. And I think that is something to be aware of. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Not at all. I have learned, though, that there are people who get the honor of getting to see the authentic me. that there are people, and I love how Keith said that, that are, not necessarily wanting me to be X, Y, and Z. So great. Then you don't get to experience that. I'm going to go over here where I can be accepted. Um, but the takeaway from that for me is that when I bend to be what other people expect me to be, they lose a part of myself. So that vulnerability hangover is real, and definitely something to expect. But the last thing I'm going to leave you with is keep in mind when working with authenticity that originality often fails. It often fails. People who are original often fail at first. And then people want what they have. So just because it looks like you're failing or people aren't accepting you or whatever it may be, just be gentle with yourself. Go inside, listen to that small voice inside of you that's telling you, this is who I am. This is who I am. I found that the louder voices in my head are usually those parts of me wanting me to conform and to be, whoever I think I should be in the world. So again, keep in mind, some of the most original people failed big time. Walt Disney failed big time. Steven Spielberg failed big time. Got kicked out of film school, I think. So just keep that in mind. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope for you many authentic experiences, if that's what you should so choose. I'm grateful that you've spent this time with us. A huge thank you again to my guest, Keith Butler, author of Little Black Gay Boy. It's out now. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it everywhere. So just, and if you want more information about it, look me up on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, all those different places, and I'll be happy to connect you with Keith. Let me tell you where you can find me, I guess. On Facebook, it's here. If you're watching this, you probably are watching it on Facebook, so you found my page. Just DM me. On Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Bob Kiser Coach. I love to talk about all the topics I talk about, so send me some emails and different things, and I will I'll be happy to talk. As we're leaving, Andrew Gardner, who hi Andrew, it's so good to see you. Andrew had a comment, and he said, the vulnerability hangover is exhausting, but not nearly as so by being inauthentic and opaque, which I completely agree. So that's good to see you, Andrew. And with that in mind, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I hope that I see you next week. So have a great week, everyone. Bye.